you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Good, good. Yes. Awesome.
All right, perfect.
Hey,
It
sorry
just
about my
started
messy.
thunderstorming here, so I don't know what's gonna happen,
Oh,
but
gotcha. Where are you situated?
I'm in Ohio right now.
Gotcha, gotcha. I'm in New York and it's been every day's been different. It's finally nice and warm and sunny.
That's
But
good.
yeah, we've got cats and a baby, a newborn baby in the other room, so you might hear things on my end too, but hopefully not, knock on wood. I've had pretty good luck. Yeah.
I have cats on my end too, so anything's
Yeah. Oh,
possible.
nice. How many do you have?
I have two.
Nice, nice. We have three, just from combining households. I had two, and then my husband had one, so now we have three. And they always want to be in the room where someone has closed the door, I'm sure, as you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm an optimist, so things should run smoothly.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me. And I think Marissa was going to join us, I believe.
Uh,
Um, I thought so.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
No worries. I'm maybe running a little late. I know she's had some tech issues too, so I'm sure we can do whatever you need, I'm sure, and get going with or without or whatever works for you.
I mean, I'm cool to get started if you are.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So
Yeah.
you officially made your TV debut with season 5 of The Handmaid's Tale. What was it like going from stage to screen and then joining this already established series?
Oh my gosh. It was wild. I had a lot of research that I had to do, a lot of catching up because I'd only seen a little bit of the show. I had read the book, but um, I hear this from a lot of people. The show being so relevant and so real, it was one that I started, and then when it became so emotional that I was thinking about it a lot when I wasn't watching it, I put it on the back burner and was like, I'm going to come back to it. I will come back and I will finish watching it. But then when I got the audition for the show, I binged everything in like a 2 week period, which was quite a wild ride. And I probably got dehydrated from crying so much. It was just a full immersion in it. So that was really interesting. And then I had done like a one line on a movie, and I had done some student films, and then I had been a part of the at the time it was the Viacom CBS comedy showcase, where we filmed sketches. So I'd had some experience with the basic way that film acting works, and I'd taken some film acting classes, but hadn't been on a set like that before. So I was very nervous going into it. With stage, you get so many opportunities to rehearse something and know every inch of something. So you have this map that you follow, and then inside of that map, you can be kind of spontaneous to a degree to keep it fresh. But this idea of you're just going to show up and um, your first take needs to be potentially the take because there's not time. Everything moves so quickly, and you'll have a chance to rehearse and discuss, but it's going to be very quick. I knew all of that going into it and was really nervous, but it was the kind of thing like the moment showing up and meeting everybody, and I'd gotten the chance to talk to Lizzie Moss on the phone, and then meeting Max, and he'd been doing it for so long and was so grounded and comfortable and so kind to me. And he also didn't know it was my first TV show at the time, until I told him like after we'd done a few takes. So he treated me very like, hey, this is our regular, whatever, we've done this, a very regular day to day thing. He didn't know how nervous I was. And I think that helped me. It just kind of normalized everything. And everybody was so nice. I mean, people say this about this cast all the time, but everybody's really, really kind, and they're all just like the most non-famous acting famous people you would ever meet. Everybody's just a really good human who's invested in the story. There are a lot of activists in the cast, people who want to be good humans too, and who take the responsibility of telling this story very seriously. So it was an awesome first experience to have with television. I'm really, really lucky that it was um, my starting point for this world.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, yeah. It
It
was
doesn't
awesome.
surprise me that there are activists in the cast.
Yeah.
Delightful.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. During this last election, Everett Carradine worked really hard to try to get people to get signed up, registered to vote. And then Bradley Whitford has been leading the charge in Wisconsin politically, and he was up like all night, canvassing, doing phone calls with people during the election. I mean, um, beyond them, a lot of people are very active, but the two of them come to mind because I knew firsthand how hard they were working on things, and it's really wonderful. And Bradley Whitford has helped the disability community as well too. So they're really, really great people. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now that you've done stage and screen, and they're both very different, as you just explained, do you have a preference?
Gosh, I love them both equally for different reasons. I think the thing that first comes to mind that I wish that screen had more of that stage has, and this speaks to also how wonderful working with this group of people was, is with stage, most of the time you get a long time to work with people. Um, a lot of the shows that I've done, or my favorite shows that I've done, had long runs. So you'd have weeks to rehearse and then weeks and weeks to run the show. And with film, if you're a guest star or somebody in my position, you show up for a few days, and those days you get to sit around a lot and talk to people and get to know people in a very condensed version. You make these really quick connections and then try to catch up and keep in touch with people as best you can. But you don't get that really, really long extended time to work with people day to day. As a series regular, you would, then you would be seeing people every day and really get the chance to
Right.
get to know everybody really, really well. But I was just always craving more time with these people because the time that we had was so great and so precious, and the conversations were so amazing. And again, watching them work, I was learning so much. So I'd love to do a play with anybody from the show just to get that time. Um, I love the all of the different pieces that go into film. I mean, theater is the same way. There's so many different creative aspects to it, so many different experts who come in to make the finished thing. But in film, you can really see it happening in real time in front of you, the troubleshooting happening. You understand that you're really this small part of this huge whole. But the thing that I was missing with film, so that was what was so cool about film. The thing I was missing was this idea of the audience. It's like we'd finish shooting and then I'd kind of forget that later people are going to watch this. Whereas with theater, obviously the audience is right there. Um, the actual experience, I love the immediacy of film, and that you have to just make a choice and have to, it's very exhilarating. So I think equal love, but for different reasons for both.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of themed this interview around disability advocacy, but
Yeah,
kind of can't really jump into it without talking about Rose. Um,
sure.
so I want to start off with that. Rose is portrayed as having and I apologize if I mispronounce any of these words,
Oh, sure.
congenital hip dysplasia.
You
Um,
got it? Yeah.
Perfect. When you were auditioning for the show, did you know that she had that?
She was written as a cane user, so she was written to have a mobility difference, a gait difference. I didn't know specifically that it was hip dysplasia, but she was written to walk with a cane, which is really cool and really rare to see. It's rare to see characters written as disabled, and it's very rare to see them written with that specific disability. Yeah.
That was my next question, is if you had ever come across that before. So,
Yes, a lot of times what we see in breakdowns is we'll see wheelchair user, or we'll see any disability. It'll be kind of a broad disability, and something that kind of, my husband is also a disabled actor. He was born with HIV and he has cerebral palsy, and he also walks using a cane and uses a wheelchair from time to time, or he uses a wheelchair more than I do. Um, Something that bothers us in the breakdowns that we'll see, for a character who's written as disabled, often it'll say actors with disabilities encouraged to audition, as opposed to just we're looking for disabled actors.
mm,
So that language is interesting. Like, are you really open still to non-disabled people playing these roles? I feel like that's maybe old language at this point, because what we'll see instead is there are lots of disabled actors. I mean, there are tons of us, and usually now, you can find the right fit for the role. But if for some reason you can't, the character usually gets rewritten now, as opposed to a
mm.
non-disabled person playing them. Though we still see exceptions to that, and we've seen some in some pretty big films just this past year also. But the other thing that bothers us is, they'll say no experience necessary when it comes to acting, when you wouldn't necessarily see that for other roles or for just non-disabled roles. And there are a lot of disabled actors with lots of experience and with professional training. So it's curious that there is still this idea that if we're going to look for someone in this community to play this role, we better say that they don't have to have experience, because maybe they don't, or maybe they're not as good as other people, or not as ready, or not as skilled, or not as trained, which is just not true. And a lot of people who are casting, or directors who it's their first time encountering this community, that a response that I often hear is, I had no idea that there were so many of you out here, and I had no idea that so many of you were so good. And I identify with that, because when I joined the community, I felt the exact same way. So we still need, um, more opportunities, more exposure, better marketing for our whole community. People still need to know that we're out here. We're still encountering a lot of surprise that we do exist. So yeah, it's a long answer for that, but it is surprising, um, to see something written that specifically, and like confidently about knowing what they're looking for. Yeah.
Um, and you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I'm nailing it.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is? And then kind of like how it pertains to Rose and then just like acting in general?
Yeah, sure. So it's a genetic connective tissue disorder. It's similar to Loeys-Dietz syndrome or Marfan syndrome. It has some crossovers with those, if people might know those conditions better. It affects the collagen in my body, so it affects everybody really differently. And there are a lot of different types. I have the hypermobile type, so there's not a blood test for it yet. The way that you're diagnosed is through a clinical examination. And I've been diagnosed a few times with it through geneticists and rheumatologists. And I didn't know that I had it until I was in my early 20s. Um, I my first signs of having it were when I was a teenager, when I was 15 and then 16, I had repeated collapsed lungs that just kind of happened for no reason. And I had to have lung surgery to repair those and to kind of, in layman's terms, like glue my lungs to the insides of my ribs. So now I'm good. Now they're great. I can shout and do whatever I want to do. And breathing is a top-notch skill for me. Um, but that was the first sign of something that was wrong, but no one put the pieces together. And then in my early 20s, I started having pain. I was trying to be a dancer. I was never good at it, but I was trying. I was a musical theater major and going to dance classes all the time. And I was also working in restaurants around the clock and really pushing my body. I was biking all the time. That was my main form of transportation to and from work and school. And um, basically, I started kind of falling apart and had a lot of trouble walking, um, and to a point that didn't seem normal. And it was hard to do my job. And I would have a lot of trouble with theater jobs. People would ask me to do certain things. They'd ask me to run on stage or ask me to jump over something. I was finding that I couldn't do it. And then when I um, went to grad school for acting, that's when I got diagnosed. I got diagnosed through Duke Children's Hospital, the genetics department there. And knowing was really important because I could then advocate for myself. I could tell directors why I could or couldn't do a certain thing. Um, and I remember the first time I really told a director and it really affected me and it affected my performance. The director was really kind about it, was eye-opening because in the past I'd had experiences of not being able to do something or getting injured and a director being impatient and then kind of having the conversation of like, if you want to work in this business, you've got to blah, blah, blah. Like you need to work harder. It was always, you need to work harder and harder. And then the more I would push myself, the worse my body would be. And I would cause more damage. But I was doing a play, a two-person play that was really physical. And I had to kind of vault up onto this fake wooden horse. And I dislocated my shoulder going up onto this horse and then couldn't use my shoulder for a couple of weeks during rehearsals. And the director knew what was going on with me and it was never a discussion. It was just, okay, we'll put a chair there and you're not going to have to do that for a while and then we'll figure it out. And that was kind of like a light bulb moment. And then when I moved to New York, that's when it really started affecting my walking. I would go to auditions and leave my cane. I was starting to use a cane. I would leave that in the holding area and then come in and kind of try to hide that I had anything going on. The people started catching on. They go, why are you walking like that? So eventually I had to embrace it. And when I did embrace it, I found this great community. I found the people who were looking for me. It was kind of this thing like you didn't have to hide all along kind of thing. And now rather than people going, why can't you do this? I encounter more like, tell it, what can you do? And I instead have to um, now kind of say, no, I can do that. And I have to be more open about what my abilities are rather than talk about the things that I can't do, if that makes sense. Um, so there are a lot of people who live in that gray area of disability who try to work in lots of different fields, and it's difficult. It's difficult when you're in that in between zone because there's a lot of confusion and shame. And because roles are limited for people when you do identify as a disabled actor, it is one of those things that for a lot of people, I think doesn't become beneficial to them until they have to do that, until they have no other choice, until all the other doors are closed to them. But once they do identify and embrace that identity, then it's so much better than the alternative, which really isn't an alternative. At least that's been my experience with it.
Um, since you touched on a little bit about like the shift in the industry and seeing um at least hints of representation in the
Mhm.
character descriptions and stuff like that. For me, there's a big difference between quantity and quality. Um,
Mhm.
so having living in this industry, do you feel like representation is meaningful? The ones that make it to the screen and the stage.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's getting better. I do. I think that we're seeing more full characters. We're seeing disabled characters allowed to be leads. We're seeing them allowed to have romance stories. Uh, we're seeing them um, have children on screen. Um, yeah, I think about I'm trying to think of I'm on such a lack of sleep because of my newborn that sometimes they aren't coming to me, the names of the shows. But I think it's the new, oh, I might have to send it to you. But there's a show where there's a young disabled um, person on the show, and she and her partner in the show are looking to have a child via IVF, and it's a big plot line, and they're looking for sperm donors, and there's not ever much of a question of the disability even coming into it. Recently, we've seen the film Good Bad Things that features a romantic lead. Jesse Yates right now is playing a pediatrician in I think an emergency room in the show Pulse. There are many more people who are just allowed to be people in this space. Yeah, so at the movie A Different Man um, was really great with that also of walking that line of nodding towards a disability in kind of a tongue-in-cheek and ironic way, but then also showing a character who isn't defined by it. Because sometimes we can push too far in the other direction, right? Where we then also feel like we have to ignore the disability completely. It's really hard to um, say that there's one correct way to do something. I think that we just need all kinds of stories. We need stories that tell the disability specific story, and then we need stories that don't. So in that way, we need quantity and quality, if that makes sense. We need like a good quantity of all of the qualities, all of the different ways to do representation. We need all of it. I hope that that makes sense.
No, that does. That does.
Yeah.
Um, are there things within the industry that like while it is improving, getting better, are there still things that need to be improved upon?
Yeah. For disabled actors or for just in general, would you say, with that
Uh,
question?
in general.
In general, well, since the strike, I think we've seen a lot of budget cuts for shows. It's kind of hard to get a show launched at the moment. It's kind of hard for shows to be made if they don't have a big star or if there's not a big financial incentive. Um, there's such a focus right now as the industry is kind of reworking itself, where it's trying to figure out who has the power and who has the money, and um, we're in a tough moment for people who are kind of starting from nothing to get their stories heard. It's a hard moment for people who maybe have a show to pitch or a unique idea to pitch. Um, Everything needs to kind of have financial backing already, or needs to have someone attached who is going to bring in an audience. Um, that's very difficult right now. There a lot of people are out of work. Um, A lot of writers are out of work, casting directors are out of work. So, and I think, but I think also audiences are pushing back against same old, and they can tell now more when something is being made just to make money, or when an IP is being stretched to bursting. When you have the 10th, 11th version of something, and audiences start starting to go, do we need this? Or they're starting to talk about the things that they do miss, or with indie movies that they're loving, they are showing up and showing we love this, or um, unconventional smaller TV shows, cult hits are getting big followings. So the way that my reps talk about it right now is they go, we still haven't found the new normal. We don't know what the new normal is. And I think a lot of people feel very optimistic that whatever that new normal is, whenever we get to it, will be better for artists and creatives and people who have fresh ideas, and people who don't know the right person to get the thing made. Maybe somebody who just has a great idea will be able to get something made, which is the way that it should be. But it's not the way that it often works, unfortunately. And that affects everybody. That affects marginalized communities, of course, I think the most. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for industry workers, in terms of continuing these efforts and making representation, uh, better?
Yeah, I think if you're somebody with power, um, I mean, I would just love if people in power could take a chance on people, because so often that chance pays off. Um, Disabled people make up a quarter of the population, and a lot of them do have money to spend, and want to go to the movies and rent the show, and will support art made by and with disabled people. Um, People who are starting out, um, I think I would say just stay optimistic and keep working, and know that things change all the time. The industry looks really different right now than it did when I started. Um, and that there is a place for everybody, and it is just about continuing to make things. I mean, I know that sounds kind of cliche, and like everybody at the end of the day is, everybody's got to eat and everybody's got to pay their rent. But if you're making something in any form, it means something. If you're making writing a one person show, and able to put that up and people are able to come and see it, that still has a chance to be seen. I think it's also important to remember what matters. It's just hard. It's hard when you're measuring your success by maybe how many people are watching something, or how often you're working. Um, so it's, for me, like, I don't work as often as I mean, I think all actors feel that way. They don't work as often as they would like to, or maybe as often as people would assume that they are. And I think a big thing too is people assume that actors make a lot more money than they do. Um, just if you're on screen at all, they think that you're raking it in, which is not the case. So it's really important to find other things that you love too. And when I was in acting school, the messaging that we would always get was, if you can think of doing anything else besides acting, do that instead. But now a lot more people are giving the advice, like, if you can imagine yourself doing anything other than acting, do that too. Because we all do contain multitudes. There's enough time in somebody's lifetime to do multiple things. And a lot of these things will feed each other. If you're an expert in one field, uh, I mean, acting is one of those things that's all encompassing. So if you're a writer or an artist, or if you love history, or if you love science, that all of these things can help each other, and it's only going to make you a stronger performer and then make you a happier person too. Um, yeah. So I know that's maybe not the most optimistic answer on its face, because it's acknowledging some of the hardships of the industry, but we've become so much happier um, when we've not defined ourselves by the jobs that we get, but we continue to take classes and then we do other things that we love. And you can always keep acting in other ways because it's so hard to be in an industry where your ability to do the thing you love relies on somebody else saying, okay, here's the chance to do it. Um, so you kind of got to break out of that and say like, I can do this whenever I want, even if somebody isn't saying, okay, now you get to act. Um, it's a weird industry. It's wonderful, but it's weird in a lot of ways. You've got to make it work for you.
That is weird as a fair assessment.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But it's great.
I just got a notice via Zoom that our call's gonna, I think we have less than what, 5 minutes. I don't know what happens when the that happens. So, uh,
Yeah,
under the assumption that we'll just
no
get kicked
worries.
out, I'll go ahead and ask
Sure,
the last question. So
sure.
now that The Handmaid's Tale has wrapped, what's up next for you?
Yeah, well, to kind of piggyback off of the last thing, I shot a film a few years ago called Where Did the Adults Go? I'm the lead in that film. It's my first lead in a film, and it's a wonderful indie. It's really different from a lot of the things that you're seeing right now. It's really intimate family drama. It's shot from a kind of fly on the wall perspective, and that's doing the festival thing right now, trying to get into festivals. So hopefully people will be able to see that at some point. It's a really beautiful film. Um, in terms of acting, it's auditioning, and my husband and I are working on a web series together called Adoptive that we've written, and we're directing and producing it, and we're acting in it, and we'll be shooting that sometime in the fall. And we're getting to do that because of the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge. They've given us a grant to create this, which is going to be amazing, and it's a just an awesome opportunity. So we're excited for people to get to see that. And then we're raising our son. We have a newborn. He's 10 weeks as of this upcoming Monday. So he's awesome. So life is nuts right now, but it's so wonderful, and he's so freaking cute, and we just love him so much. And then we're trying to also nurture all of we have other hobbies and things that we love to do, and I'm looking at teaching opportunities. Also, there's just a lot going on in other forms of life. We're moving in with my mom into a beautiful house soon. Um, so yeah, to be determined on the acting front after adoptive, but that's the way we love it to be. It's exciting. It's always exciting.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Congratulations on everything, and I wish you the best with
Thank
audition.
you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for talking.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully get to talk with you again about your work and more advocacy.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for your questions. It was awesome.
All right. Have a great rest of your day and good luck with your son and the cats.
Thank you. Good luck with your cats too and the rain.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks. Bye.